Alright, what is up, Design 3? We're going to get into this tutorial. You guys requested this, and so hopefully this video will help you with your product development and your file setup. So we've been talking about this in class, and I have been doing the live demonstration, but you guys requested that I do a tutorial video so that you can rewatch it. And just kind of make sure that you do things right, which I think was a great idea. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. So what you can see here is what we're going to create today. An Orange Vanilla Coke label. I know this is a brand that already exists. Your brand is going to be something you made up from scratch. But the things that we are looking to create and what I'm looking to see on your label design is basically everything you see here. We have a logo, the Coca-Cola logo, right? It's nice and front and center because, you know, that's what drives basically everything. So your logo might not be the main focus. It might be more of the, you know, the subtitle, which is Orange Vanilla in this case. Maybe, if you're doing a product that more showcases the name, not of the specific product, rather than the logo itself, that could be any which way you want it to. So we're going to need a logo. We're going to need some descriptive text to describe, you know, what it is that your product is. So in this case, we have a flavored soda, and then just some imagery. So basically, this is a really simple background. You can just do solid colors, and I'm gonna recreate this from scratch right now so that we can get into it. But before we actually start, I want to take a look at the one slide that's probably going to be the most meaningful slide out of our notes for this part of the process. So we've got margins and bleed, right? So these are going to be the most important parts before we make this file. So we got the margins, which are going to be on the inside of your page, right? So this kind of protects your text from being too close to the trim line, which is where a print document would be trimmed. So you don't want to get your letters or anything important too close to that trim line so it doesn't get cut off. And then bleed room is just extra space beyond the page that gets cut off, so that the colors and the background goes flush to the end of the label where it gets cut. So we're going to pay attention to bleed when we make our document, because this is this is an additional 0.125 of an inch. That's an additional eighth of an inch on each side. So, you know, on the top, if you're going to have a eighth of an inch added to the top and bottom, you got to add those together for the height of your label, and add a quarter of an inch, or 0.25. So our label here that we were just looking at is 2 inches by 3 inches. So 2 inches tall by 3 inches wide. This is the front of the bottle, of course. It's not the full label, but that's going to be the measurement there. But we're going to add a 0.25 to each side. So whatever you measured your label to be, let's add 0.25 to the height and 0.25 to the width. So let's jump in there and create this file for this. Go up to File, New. If you're using Photoshop, if you're using Photopea, you can create a new document, and you will see this a space similar to this to create your document size. First things first, let's make sure we're looking at inches. Okay, and like I said, our label is going to be 2 inches by 3 inches. That's going to be, or 3 inches wide, so 3 inches here, and 2 inches in the height. But we forgot to add the bleed room, right? So we're going to add a 0.25 to each of these. 0.25 there, and 0.25 there. Okay, something that's really important when it comes to print documents, your resolution should be around 300. Okay, 300 is the resolution for anything print related. So that's going to be something, it's going to be an important note to jot down if you're like writing down notes, or just need to remember that, because you will see a question of some sort, I'm sure, in the future with the resolution type of a print document versus a web document. So we got 300 for print, and I'm going to hit create. So here's our label. And so let's take a look at our rulers. We got, you know, our rulers are up here. If you cannot see your rulers and you are in Photoshop, I think the rulers automatically show in Photopea. But if you are in Photoshop, you can do Command R on a Mac or Alt R on a Windows, I'm pretty sure. So that will kind of hide and show the rulers. So if they're not showing, that's how you can do that quickly. So when the rulers are up, basically I want to put the bleed room lines on there so I know where the bleed is. And so that since that's 1/8 of an inch on each side, we need to, okay, that's the edge, right, at 0. So that's gonna be 2 points down, 2 little tick marks down is 1/8. So that's gonna be one side. Go over here, do the same thing, 1 tick, 2. So if you don't know what I'm seeing here, I'm looking right up here, and there's 1 tick there, and then there's another one, so that's the second one. We're gonna do the same thing for this side, but let's see what tick it lands on. See, this one, so we're gonna skip one and then go to the next one. That's gonna be 1/8 of an inch. Same on the bottom, since it's kind of like randomly in the middle here. So look at that tick mark and you go 1, 2. So I'm gonna bring it up. It's about there. Now we got 1/8 of an inch on each side, and that's gonna show our bleed room. So we cannot put anything past that because it will get cut off, right? So let's go ahead and finish up this label. This is all you have to do for setup. And I'm gonna make a part 2 of this because we're gonna take this flat design and put it on a 3D like model of your product packaging. So right now we just need to focus on the flat design, and this is the flat design of the front of the label. So first things first, I'm gonna add some color to this background. So if you just want to add a solid color, I'm gonna use the paint bucket tool here, and I'm gonna go over to my colors down here. And I think it remembered the color that I was using before, so that's awesome. I wrote it down, the number, so I got the same one again, but it remembered it. So I'm gonna drop it in there like that, okay? Let's go back and see what else we gotta do. We gotta add a circle here. So we're gonna add a little half circle, if you will, to the bottom half of this label. Since I'm mimicking the Orange Vanilla Coke label, not to mention I'm super obsessed with this drink for some reason. So I'm gonna grab a circle down here. You probably won't be using the shape tools unless you want to. If you feel inspired to, go for it. And I think this is the red that I was using because it remembers, see, recent colors. So if you're using Photoshop, that's a little tip right there. It does save your recent colors. So I'm gonna grab a little circle. I'm gonna hold shift so I can make a perfect circle. And then I'm gonna do a little transform option here. So remember Command T from the classroom, and we haven't done shortcuts in a minute. So I'm gonna drop that in there, make sure it's nice and centered. And Photoshop, you can actually, when you have the right layer selected, you could use your arrow keys and shimmy the logo or whatever it is. Whatever the layer is, you can shimmy it around. So that's what I'm doing right now. All right, I think that looks good. Yep, looking pretty good to me. So, all right, what's next? Let's just drop in the main part of this first. So I'm just kind of going and creating this. This tutorial was mainly to show you how to set up the document, but I figured I would go ahead and just design the whole thing because it would go pretty quickly. Here is my Coca-Cola logo. So when you create a logo, maybe you might want to save it as its own file first, and then drag it into your full-on label when you start designing it. Don't design it at the same time. I would design the logo first and then put it on your label. So let's try to remember that. I'm gonna drop this in here. I'm gonna make this a little smaller. Try to get it to be like a decent size, and maybe a little bigger. Okay. But we don't want it to be too close to the trim line, which is this right here, and all this extra space is the bleed, remember that. So, okay, I'm gonna hit enter, and I'm gonna change this to white. So if you ever wanna change the layer, or the color of a layer, you can simply do that by going to FX and color overlay. Okay, so there's white, that'll work. You can hit OK. So that's kind of how you can change the color of basically anything. So especially if it's a solid graphic like this. All right, and then the next thing I think we're gonna add is, I'll add this other image here, and then we'll focus on the text. So we're gonna add a little orange slice down there. I got that image here too. Not coming in. There it goes. All right, bring this a little smaller. Throw it in there, and good. Go over here. Oh, the orange slice is flipped. Oh man, I need to flip it. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Edit, Transform, and I know this is a long thing here, but flip horizontally will flip that for me. So I'm just getting picky now, but hopefully you're learning a couple things from this too, and maybe getting some ideas for your design. So I'm gonna throw that in there, and then I'm gonna write orange vanilla right at the top. I'm not gonna worry about this like small text down here. I just did that to make it look official, but I'm gonna just put the flavor up there, and we'll finish this thing off. So grab my text tool, I'm gonna type. I need to change this to white because orange on orange won't show up. This is just some dummy text is what they call it. So it's just like a filler text. It doesn't say anything. It just says gibberish. But then you can fill it in with whatever you want. Orange, vanilla. I think I used a different font. So I'm going to go in here and choose the font that I chose before and make this smaller. Let's see what we got here. I don't know if you guys can hear, there's a motorcycle outside. Alright, maybe I'll do it this way. You can drag this little thing here and change the size however you want. But I'm gonna spread this out a little bit. I'm doing some fine tuning here. Change the letter spacing. And I'm gonna throw this, I don't need to make it perfect, but let's space it a little bit more. I think it looks good if we do. Let's do like 200. There we go. That's looking good. I'm using the arrows again to shimmy this, put it in place, and voila, you got yourself a Coca-Cola orange vanilla label, just like that. And like I said, you want to make sure that you're being mindful of the spacing around the edge so that it doesn't get too close to the trim line, which is this, and that you are adding the extra quarter inches to make up for the bleed room, which is all of this. So if this was to actually be printed just like this, all this little extra stuff down here, everything beyond these lines here is going to get cut off, and so the actual line, I'm getting the Microsoft update coming up. Basically all this is going to get cut off, and you're not going to see that on the actual printed thing, so you don't want anything to get too close to that line. So be mindful of that. Hopefully the first half of this video was probably the golden part of this video, so rewatch that if you need to. But by watching me design this, hopefully that gave you a little bit of inspiration and just made things a little easier for you in the process of designing your flat label. And then I'll make a part 2 of this where we take the flat label and put it on a 3D model to make up the actual product itself. Alright guys, have fun with it. Let me know if you have questions, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.